Hi everyone, I'm Alex from English Owls, and this is a new video in the series How to Teach ESL Online. In this video, I would like to take you through a few ideas that will help you create some really engaging and productive lessons online with zero or almost zero preparation. The first idea is to exploit the chat box. You can ask students to create sentences or questions that can be typed in the chat box of your platform. And later on, these will become your marker sentences to teach the target language. You can create the context yourself with a couple of pictures at the beginning of the lesson. And then, for example, you can ask students to write questions in the chat box using hopefully past simple. You wouldn't have to ask them to use past simple, but if you give them the topic of my last weekend, for example, they can type some questions to you about your weekend, and hopefully they are using the target language that you want them to use. And obviously this can be manipulated in different ways so that students are using a different target language. Later on, to take this further, you can use as control practice some task in a course book for this target language, but you can also ask students to create their own gap fills. If you have two groups, you can ask them to create two different sets of gap fills that they can swap between each other. It's a really interesting way to get students talking and creating something together, and then that would be your control practice followed by a freer practice. In freer practice, I like to take students back to the initial questions and ask each other these questions using the target language, and hopefully this is a really productive and interesting lesson for you to try out. Obviously there are different variations on this topic, but the idea of using the chat box to generate content for your lesson in terms of your target language from the students is a really interesting and easy way to start your lessons. The second thing on my list is to use a memory game in which you show students a picture. Usually it has to be a very detailed picture, for example, a picture of a messy room, where you show the students the picture for about a minute, and then you ask them to write down all the words that they can remember from the picture. After that, you can go back to the picture and compare their lists to what actually was in there, and then you can possibly generate some more vocabulary if you want. Be careful, you might not want to teach every single item in the picture, so choosing the picture will take a little bit of thinking and maybe time, but it's generally much easier than finding whole materials for a whole lesson. So after that, you teach those items, and then the control practice can be basically go back to the picture and describe it in as much detail as possible, possibly writing down the items again, and nominate students to tell you what this item is. This works really well for lower levels, and obviously for visual learners it's a great bonus. And then your freer practice can be possibly Pictionary. You describe the item to the students, and then they draw, or they can describe it to each other. Guessing games, even mime works really well. Memory games with very detailed pictures are a great way to create whole lessons, and then the nice thing about it is that you can reuse and recycle these pictures for other lessons in the future. The third thing on my list is to use the immediate context of the student. So basically, for example, you can ask the students to look out the window and see maybe there is someone outside, and what they are doing would be your question. So you can ask the students, so is there anyone out the window outside your house right now? And they can say, yes, there's a man. And what is he doing? Oh, he's walking his dog. That's your target language, your present continuous. The students have naturally used it, but maybe they were making some mistakes, or maybe they were trying to use present simple. So there's a reason for you to now take that example and use it as a marker sentence, generate the negative and the interrogative form, work on pronunciation, and obviously go back to the meaning using some concept check questions, and then basically that is your again student generated context and content. Another thing you can do is also using some kind of visual, and that is showing students some pictures, and these pictures will be your context, but they would come with a set of questions, usually the same questions. Maybe they have to compare to generate maybe comparative adjectives. Maybe there is something visual like descriptive adjectives that they could use. Basically, from those pictures, you start getting language from the students. Basically, all these ideas that I'm talking about today are based on generating content from the students, and obviously that requires some experience in terms of language analysis, but once you've done it a couple of times, you will see it's a really nice way to address learners' needs directly. And another thing that you could do is to use Dictogloss. Dictation and Dictogloss are one of my favorite ways to start lessons. So I would just dictate maybe a paragraph, or use Dictogloss, which would be a targeted dictation. I'm going to link below how you can use Dictogloss in more detail, but Dictogloss is a great way to get students to focus on target language and form the order of words in a sentence. It's a great way to start your lesson in a really engaging and focused way. And then my last idea for today is to use videos. So use videos, but in a very different way, to use videos without the sound. So basically you show them a YouTube video, for example, with the sound off, where maybe there are two people in a restaurant and ordering food, and then they have to come up with the language to describe maybe a dialogue between a waiter and a customer, and that's your context. And it's an interesting way to see what students come up with, and I totally encourage you to find videos that generate different vocabulary and grammar that will help students focus in the lesson. So this is it for today's video. All these ideas are really engaging and interesting for students and for the teacher. They are all variations, and they take you away from that, you know, course book approach where you just do whatever is in the book, and everything becomes a little bit formulaic and stale. So start experimenting with these ideas and tell us how it went. Thank you very much for watching this video today. Some new things that are related to this topic will be linked below, as well as all the other platforms where you can find us. Thank you very much. Please share, like, subscribe, comment, ask us lots of questions. This is a great opportunity for us to share ideas, but also to learn from each other. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, follow us, and share.